Before, life doesn't happen to you. It happens because of you. This is one of the most powerful shifts in perspective anyone can make before, and it's the difference between being a passenger in your own story or being the author. Too often, before, people go through life with the belief that things are just happening to them. They think they were born into certain circumstances, surrounded by certain people, or placed in certain environments, and therefore their life is already defined. But here's the truth: circumstances are real, challenges are real, pain is real, but none of them define you. What defines you are the choices you make in response. Every single day before, you're casting votes for the person you want to become, the job you take, the people you surround yourself with, the risks you avoid or embrace, before the habits you build or neglect. All of these are your choices. They are your fingerprints on your destiny. If you choose not to decide, that's still a decision before. And the moment you realize that every decision compounds into your future, you'll stop waiting for life to hand you something and you'll start creating it for. Think about it. When someone says, I can't because of my family, what they're really saying is, I choose not to try because it's easier to blame where I came from. When someone says, I'd be successful if I got that opportunity, what they're really saying is, I'm waiting for life to hand me a chance instead of building my own. And that's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who rise. The ones who rise stop seeing themselves as victims of life and start seeing themselves as architects of life. The woman who creates her own destiny doesn't accept the narrative that life happens to her. She knows she has the power to influence the direction. Yes, there will be storms she didn't plan for. Yes, there will be walls she didn't build but still has to climb. But she understands that her reaction is more powerful than her circumstances. She sees rejection not as the end, but as redirection. She takes failure not as proof that she should quit, but as feedback that she should adjust. When you accept that life happens because of you, excuses start to disappear. Instead of saying, I didn't have enough time, you admit, I didn't prioritize it. Instead of saying, they didn't support me, you decide, I'll support myself until I prove them wrong. Instead of saying, I don't know how, you learn. It's not about never struggling. It's not about owning the struggle and using it as fuel. Here's the empowering part: when you realize life happens because of you. You stop waiting for the perfect timing. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for someone to give you a green light. You start moving with what you have right where you are, knowing that momentum creates opportunities. And when people look back years later, they'll call it destiny. They'll call it fate. They'll call it luck, but you'll know the truth. You'll know it was choice. It was persistence. It was you. Life doesn't happen to you. It never has before. It happens because of you, because of your decisions, your courage, your resilience, and your refusal to settle. The sooner you take full ownership of that, the sooner you unlock the power to create the life you actually want. Most people live their lives reading a script someone else has written for them. It starts when we're children. We're told what to study, what's realistic, what's acceptable. We're handed a pen, and then slowly it's taken away. Parents, teachers, friends, society, they all start adding their own lines to our story. And before we even realize it, we're living someone else's version of who we're supposed to be. That's why so many people wake up one day and feel trapped. Not because they don't have potential, but because they never picked up the pen to write their own script. Before, taking the pen back means refusing to be defined by expectations. It means rejecting the narrative that says you should play small, stay safe, or fit into a box. It's about understanding that no one else has the right to author your life. You do. The truth is, people will always have opinions about what you should do. They will project their fears onto you, set ceilings above you, and sometimes even laugh at you for wanting more. But the moment you take the pen back, their opinions stop being rules and start being noise. You stop being an actor in someone else's play and become the director of your own. Writing your own script is not easy. It requires courage to erase the lines that have been forced on you. It means making choices that others won't always agree with. It means saying no to the comfortable path and yes to the uncertain one. That kind of decision making takes guts because it demands that you trust yourself more than you trust the crowd. But it's in those moments of uncertainty that you discover who you really are. before, you realize that your life is not about meeting other people's expectations. It's about building a story that feels authentic to you. Before, every time you choose to write your own line instead of following someone else's, you grow stronger. You build confidence, you build resilience. And most importantly, you build freedom, the freedom to wake up in the morning knowing you're living on your own terms. That kind of freedom cannot be given. It can only be created. And it's created by holding the pen firmly in your hand, even when the world tries to snatch it away. When you take back the pen, you also take back responsibility. You can no longer blame circumstances, luck, or other people for where you are. But that's not a burden, it's power. Because if your life is your script and you're the writer, then every page is another chance to create something better. You don't have to repeat yesterday's mistakes. You don't have to stay stuck in yesterday's storyline. You can flip the page and write something new today, right now. The truth is, the world doesn't need more people following scripts written by others. It needs more people brave enough to write their own. People willing to challenge norms, break ceilings, and live lives that inspire others to do the same. A woman who takes the pen back and writes her own script isn't just creating her destiny, she's creating a ripple effect. She's showing others that they can do it too. So the question is simply, will you let others keep writing your life, or will you take the pen back? Because at the end of the day, the only person qualified to author your destiny is you. Destiny is forged, not found. Too many people walk through life believing that one day they'll stumble upon their purpose, as if it were lying in the street waiting to be picked up. They think opportunity will knock, that luck will somehow place them in the right place at the right time. But the truth is far more demanding and far more empowering. Destiny is not something you find, it is something you create. It is forged through sweat, through sacrifice, through persistence when most people would rather quit. When you think about forging, you think about fire. You think about heat so intense it reshapes metal. And that's exactly what building your own destiny looks like. It's not comfortable, it's not easy, and it's not instant. You put yourself into the fire of challenge, and every time life tests you, you either harden or you break. The woman who creates her own destiny doesn't wait for the fire to die down. She steps into it. She knows that every obstacle, every sleepless night, every failure is part of the process that strengthens her into who she needs to become. People around her may say she's lucky when she succeeds. They might whisper, she had it easier, or things worked out for her. But they'll never see the hours she spent preparing, the moments when she doubted herself, but kept moving anyway, the sacrifices she made that others weren't willing to make. That's the secret most people miss. Destiny isn't handed down like an inheritance, it's hammered into existence by those willing to endure the process. Think about it, when you're forging something, you don't stop after one strike, you hit again and again. That's exactly how progress is made. You don't achieve destiny after one attempt, one project, or one idea. You build it through repetition, through refining your skills, through learning from mistakes. Each failure is a strike of the hammer shaping you. Each lesson is another blow, making you stronger, sharper, more defined. The woman who embraces this understands that failure isn't final, it's formative. Forging destiny also requires vision. A blacksmith doesn't randomly strike metal without an image of what it should become. In the same way, a woman creating her own path must see beyond her current circumstances. She has to imagine a future that doesn't exist yet and commit to bringing it to life. That vision becomes her compass when the work feels endless, when the nights feel too long, when no one claps for her efforts. The vision keeps her aligned, reminding her that the heat and the hammering are worth it. There's a reason destiny is forged, not found. It's because finding is passive, but forging is active. Waiting keeps you stagnant, but working keeps you alive. Every step forward, no matter how small, is part of the forging. Every time she chooses discipline over distraction, every time she chooses courage over comfort, every time she chooses persistence over quitting, she adds another piece to the destiny she's building. And here's the most important part: the forging never really ends. Destiny is not a final destination, it's a lifelong process. The woman who understands this doesn't stop once she achieves a milestone. She keeps shaping herself and the world around her. She doesn't just build a destiny for herself, she inspires others to pick up the hammer and start forging their own. In the end, destiny is not found waiting in some hidden corner of the world. It is born in the fire of struggle, shaped by the hammer of discipline before, and held together by the courage to keep going when others would stop. The woman who creates her own destiny knows this truth, for she is not waiting to be chosen by life, she is choosing life, and through her choices, she forges the future that belongs to her. For rejection and doubt are two of the most powerful forces in life, but most people misunderstand them. For they see rejection as a wall and doubt as a sign they should turn back. They take a no personally as if it defines their worth. For they let the whispers of others, "You can't do it, you're not ready," before. It's impossible, sink into their bones until they give up before they've even begun. But the truth is this rejection and doubt are not barriers. They are fuel. They are the fire that, when understood, can propel you further than you ever imagined. Think about every great innovator, leader, before, or achiever in history. None of them escaped rejection. In fact, the higher they climbed, the more rejection they encountered. Every book that was turned down, for every business idea laughed at, every dream dismissed, it all became evidence not of their weakness, but of how much the world needed them to persist. Rejection doesn't mean stop. Rejection means prove it again, sharpen your edge, come back stronger. It's like weight in the gym. If you want to build muscle, you need resistance. If you want to build destiny, you need rejection. Without it, there's no growth, no strength, no resilience. And doubt. Doubt is even more misunderstood. People treat doubt as a signal that they're on the wrong path. They think, if I really belonged here, I wouldn't feel unsure, but doubt is not a stop sign. It's a compass. It shows you that you're stretching into new territory, into places you've never been before. Doubt means you're growing. If everything felt safe, certain, and easy, then you wouldn't be creating anything new. You'd just be repeating what's already been done. The woman who creates her own destiny learns to welcome doubt because she understands it is proof she is building beyond her comfort zone. Every rejection, for every doubtful voice, whether it comes from others or from inside her own head, can be turned into energy. She doesn't let the no close the door, for she uses it as a spark to kick the door open herself. She doesn't let doubt convince her she's incapable, or she uses it as evidence that she is on the edge of something worth pursuing. It's like turning friction into fire. Instead of avoiding it, she embraces it before, knowing that every time she pushes through, she grows stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable. And here's the deeper truth. Before, people will doubt what they've never seen before. They will reject what they don't understand. That's not a sign you should stop. It's a sign you're onto something that matters. If everyone instantly accepted your dream, it wouldn't be bold enough. It wouldn't be destiny. It would just be average. So when rejection shows up, she smiles. When doubt whispers, she keeps walking. Because she knows those things aren't barriers. They're proof she's on the right path. At the end of the day, the woman who creates her own destiny doesn't just tolerate rejection and doubt. She feeds on them. She lets them energize her, drive her, and remind her that she is building something greater than herself. The voices that say, "You can't," become her reason to prove that she can. The failures that try to stop her become the foundation she builds on. And every single rejection, every single doubt becomes part of the fire that carries her forward, not away from her destiny, but straight into it. Most people spend their lives waiting for luck. They wait for the right time, the right opportunity, or the right person to show up and change everything. They convince themselves that if they're patient enough, if they work quietly enough, maybe luck will come knocking on their door. But here's the truth: luck isn't a strategy, and it definitely isn't a guarantee. Boldness, on the other hand, is the difference between the person who dreams and the person who does. It's the quality that separates the people who keep waiting for life to happen from the ones who go out and make life happen. When you look at the women who have changed the world, they weren't necessarily the smartest in the room or the most connected or even the most resourced, but they were bold. They spoke when others stayed silent. They acted when others hesitated. They believed in themselves when no one else did. And that boldness created momentum. Here's the thing about luck. It shows up once in a while and you never know when. It's unpredictable. It's uncontrollable. 4, but boldness. Boldness is a choice. You can choose to walk into a room with courage. You can choose to take the risk. You can choose to stand tall in the face of doubt. Every time you choose boldness, you increase your chances of creating the very opportunities most people are still sitting around hoping will just happen. Boldness is action multiplied by belief. And that combination is magnetic. When you're bold enough to move forward, even when you're uncertain, people notice. Doors start to open. Opportunities appear, not because luck magically decided you were special, but because boldness has a way of creating its own gravity. It attracts people, it attracts ideas and it attracts possibilities. Think about this: the person who takes no risks, who plays it safe, who never dares to stand up, may avoid failure. 4, but they also avoid success. They sit on the sidelines while life passes by. Meanwhile, the bold person, the one who dares to fail, who risks rejection, who is willing to look foolish in pursuit of something greater, that's the person who ends up moving forward. Boldness doesn't guarantee perfection. 4, it doesn't mean you'll always win, but it guarantees progress. And progress over time beats luck every single time. You see, luck is about chance. Boldness is about choice. Which do you want your life built on? A chance you can't control, or a choice you make every single day? If you wait for luck, you'll wait a lifetime. But if you live boldly, you'll create opportunities that others thought were impossible. A woman who is bold doesn't stop at the first no. She doesn't quit when someone tells her she can't. She doesn't shrink to make others comfortable. 4, she understands that every bold step forward, even the ones that don't go as planned, is a step toward growth. And that growth compounds. That's why over time, the bold always outpace the lucky. At the end of your life, you won't remember the moments you played it safe. You'll remember the moments you stood up, took the risk, and chose boldness over fear. And those moments, even if they were messy, even if they were imperfect, will define you far more than any random stroke of luck ever could. Because boldness isn't waiting for the stars to align. Boldness is deciding to shine even when the sky is dark. And that decision, that relentless courage, will always beat luck. A woman who creates her own destiny doesn't wait, she creates. She understands that waiting is another form of hesitation, and hesitation is the slow death of dreams. Waiting for the perfect time, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect environment is a trap, because the truth is, there will never be a perfect time. There will always be obstacles, always be doubts, always be challenges. If she waits, life passes her by. But if she creates, life bends in her direction. Creation is an act of courage. 4, it is choosing to move when others are still. It is deciding that progress is better than perfection. A woman who creates does not need certainty to take the first step. She only needs the conviction that her future will not be built by chance. She understands that doors rarely open by themselves. You have to knock, sometimes push, and often build new doors altogether. 4, that is the difference between those who wait and those who create. Waiting leads to excuses. Creating leads to results. When she creates her destiny, she does not ask for permission. She knows that people will not always believe in her, support her, or even understand her vision. And that's fine. 4, because destiny isn't built on consensus. It's built on belief and persistence. She decides to bet on herself even when others doubt her. She is not controlled by approval. She is controlled by her commitment to make her life mean something more than comfort, more than survival, more than expectations set by others. Creating destiny requires sacrifice. She learns to give up the things that slow her down, the fear of failing, the opinions of people who do not matter, the temptation to take the easy path. She chooses discipline over distraction. She chooses action over waiting. She chooses to keep moving even when the progress feels invisible. Because she knows that destiny is not one big leap. It is thousands of small steps, each taken with purpose, each adding weight to her foundation. And in this process, she understands that failure is not the end, it is the teacher. Waiting tries to protect you from failure, but it also protects you from growth. Creating means embracing risk, knowing that mistakes will happen, but also knowing that mistakes are proof of effort. Every setback becomes raw material for the next attempt. Every disappointment sharpens her resilience. She creates not only her destiny, but also her strength, her wisdom, and her character through this process. She is not reckless, but she is fearless. 4, she does not wait for certainty before she acts. She acts. And in doing so, she creates certainty. People may look at her and think she is lucky before. But what they call luck is really the result of countless hours of unseen work, unwavering persistence, and the refusal to wait for someone else to hand her a future. 4, she does not inherit destiny. She architects it. So while others sit and wonder, she builds. While others complain, she creates. While others wait for the right conditions, she makes the conditions right. And this is why her life looks different. Not because she was chosen, not because she had advantages others didn't, but because she refused to let waiting define her. She chose creation, she chose action, she chose courage. And in doing so, she created not just a destiny worth living, but an example worth following.